Some people spend their whole lives waiting for a miracle, a divine answer, or a clear sign from the universe, without realizing it's already happening every single day. The problem is, you've learned to trust the internet more than your own soul. And as long as you stay disconnected from your higher self, you'll feel lost, empty, and constantly waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. But the truth is, the answer doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. And when you finally learn to hear that voice, synchronicity starts showing up everywhere. It feels like magic, but it's actually alignment. And the craziest part, it can happen faster than you think. No one told you that you don't need another course, book, or complicated technique to access your soul's calling. What you need is a breakthrough, direct, deep, and real. A reconnection with your wisest essence, the one that already knows the way and has been trying to guide you for years. Maybe, just maybe, this video is the turning point you've been waiting for. Here you'll understand why life feels off, how to silence the mental noise, what habits activate the higher self, and most importantly, how to recognize the signs that have been around you all along. So now the question is, will you watch until the end, or will you ignore it one more time? There's a part of you that doesn't struggle with doubt, doesn't drown in anxiety, and doesn't get lost in wrong decisions. It's like a wiser, more connected, more serene version of who you already are, just operating on a frequency that the modern world taught you to ignore. Your higher self isn't some mystical entity out there. It's an internal state that's already trying to reach you. The problem is, when you're constantly stuck in rush mode, the signal gets weak, like a video call that keeps freezing because your emotional Wi-Fi is overloaded. But once you learn how to tune in, everything starts to shift. This higher self speaks through subtle intuitions, sudden ideas, symbolic dreams, and of course, synchronicities, like when you think of someone and they text you a minute later, or when you're about to give up and out of nowhere, a sign shows up saying, "Keep going." That's not a coincidence. That's your higher self nudging your awareness. The question is, are you listening, or are you so distracted by the noise of the world that you can't hear your soul trying to break through? The secret isn't to find your higher self, it's to remember it. It's like a spiritual GPS that's always been on, but you turned off the notifications. Now the real question becomes, how do you turn the signal back on? How do you let that hidden wisdom guide you through the small and big decisions in life? Maybe the reason we feel blocked isn't a lack of knowledge, but an overflow of distractions. It's easy to say we want to connect with our higher self, but what no one really tells you is that before that happens, you need to clear the barriers blocking the signal. And the truth is, those blocks are usually invisible. Overthinking, fear of failure, unhealed trauma, and the obsession with control create a heavy fog between you and your soul's calling. It's not that the soul is silent, it's that you're listening too much to the outside and not enough to what's already alive inside. That's why so many people live on autopilot, always sensing that something important is being ignored. Anxiety, procrastination, repeating the same choices like addictive cycles. These are all classic signs of a life disconnected from the higher self. When you're stuck in the layers of logic, every subtle sign feels like imagination. The soul screams through dreams, discomfort, physical sensations. But you brush it off as just in your head and keep going. It's like having treasure buried in your own backyard, but digging in someone else's because they told you it would be easier. The breakthrough won't happen as long as you keep running from yourself. Simple as that. If you really want to start hearing this inner calling, you need to make space within. That doesn't mean quitting your life or becoming a monk. It means recognizing what's blocking you. Here's a simple exercise. Grab a notebook and write down, what voices do I listen to every day, and which ones are actually mine? Just that can show you how many thoughts aren't truly yours, how many decisions, lives, and expectations you've been trying to live up to unsuccessfully. And here's the magic. The moment you start clearing out those voices, the sound of your higher self gets louder, and with it, something even more powerful begins to emerge. Merging with your higher self isn't some mystical experience reserved for monks in the Himalayas. It's a practical, daily, intimate process, and there are simple but powerful gateways that help reconnect you to that higher awareness. The first portal is intentional silence. And no, that doesn't mean just sitting there staring at the ceiling. It means silencing yourself from the inside. Start with just 10 minutes a day. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you, your breath, and maybe a piece of paper nearby in case inspiration comes. Because the higher self whispers, it doesn't shout, and you need to be calm enough to hear it. The second portal is presence. It may sound cliché, but it's revolutionary. When you're fully present, the past loses power and the future stops haunting you. Like when you sip your coffee and actually taste it, or when you walk and feel the breeze as if for the first time. That's presence. And in presence, the higher self speaks more clearly, through feelings, chills, spontaneous insights. It can be as simple as eating a full meal without touching your phone, fully aware of every bite. The third portal is intuitive writing. Grab a notebook, close your eyes for a few moments, and write the question, what does my higher self want to tell me today? Then just write, don't overthink. It might feel weird at first, maybe even silly. But over time, surprising messages start to come through. It's like unlocking a direct channel to your soul's voice. And the more you practice these portals, the more the breakthrough happens. Until the guidance becomes so clear, so constant, that ignoring it is no longer an option. Something magical starts to happen when you align with your higher self. The world seems to gain its own voice. It's not coincidence, it's synchronicity. And it's not just there to entertain you. These are codes, messages hidden in what seem like random events, but carry deep meaning. It's like the universe leaving notes along your path saying, go this way. A song playing at just the right moment. A stranger saying exactly what you were thinking. A number that keeps showing up, like 1111. These are your soul's messages, translated into the language of life. Carl Jung called synchronicities manifestations of the collective unconscious, bridges between your inner and outer worlds. And the truth is, when you're disconnected, you miss them. But when you're aligned, even the smallest details feel profound. Take, for example, a woman thinking about switching careers. On the same day, she hears 3 different messages pointing to the same path: a conversation with a friend, a post on social media, and a headline on TV. That's not luck. That's her higher self using the world as a board full of clues. And the more you pay attention, the more the signs multiply. It's like the universe saying, oh, now you're listening? Great, here's another. But here's the catch. Synchronicities don't make your choices for you, they guide. You choose. And it's in that choice, that turning point, where most people hesitate. Because noticing the call is easy, but answering it takes courage. So now that the synchronicities are showing up, the choice is yours. Keep calling it coincidence, or finally admit your higher self is knocking. Living awakened takes courage. Courage to say no to your old self, old excuses, and the autopilot that's keeping you blind to what truly matters. You can't keep saying you want change while being afraid to listen to your soul. And yes, it's scary. But staying in the illusion costs way more than taking one honest step toward awareness. Your soul speaks every day, through discomfort, through that idea that keeps coming back, through chills out of nowhere. So, will you listen? Or will you ignore it again? Most people wait for a big sign to change their lives. But the truth? The small signs are already here, every day. A video like this, a conversation that gives you goosebumps, a situation that repeats until you're exhausted. That's the universe saying, wake up, it's time. And if you're here right now, it's not by accident. Some part of you already knows it's time to awaken. Here's a practical challenge. Pick one habit, just one, to start today. It could be 5 minutes of silence, writing down what you feel, or simply observing the world without rushing. Anything that brings you closer to your higher self and creates space for a real breakthrough. Because in the end, choosing between staying blind or living awake isn't a philosophy, it's a practice. And you have everything you need to flip that switch. But first, tell me, what's the most powerful synchronicity you've ever experienced? Share it below. Your story might be exactly the spark someone else is waiting for. Now tell me, after everything you've heard, are you still going to call it coincidence when it's clearly a calling? Are you really going to keep ignoring the chills, the signs, the whispers of your soul, like they're just random body reactions or all in your head? Because if you've made it this far, some part of you already knows. The universe has been speaking to you for a long time. The question is, what will you do with that now? Will you start writing down the signs? Will you pay more attention to those sudden chills? Will you allow yourself to feel more and think less? Because when you start trusting your intuition, everything changes. Locked doors open, the right people show up. Time begins to flow in your favor. But that only happens when you decide to listen to the quietest and most powerful voice you have, your higher self. So tell me in the comments, what's the synchronicity that shook you the most? That moment that made you stop and think, this can't just be a coincidence. Share it. Someone else might be going through the same thing and just needs a little spark to awaken. And if this video made sense to you, if something lit up inside you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in the next videos, we'll keep revealing the hidden codes behind reality. And trust me, you won't want to miss the next sign the universe has for you.